All right, well, welcome and thank you for joining us as we live stream our opening reception of Meggan Joy's exhibition Battle Cry at the Judith Rinehart Gallery. We're coming from you live from our gallery space in historic Pioneer Square. We're broadcasting on YouTube, Instagram, and the gallery website at jrinehardgallery.com. Feel free to leave any questions or comments in the chat on YouTube, and you can let us know if you have questions on Instagram, and we'll try to get to all of them at the end of our program during a Q&A. So to start off tonight, we want to first acknowledge that we are located on the ancestral land of the Coast Salish people, and in that spirit, we strive to make the gallery an inclusive space for all of our visitors, regardless of their gender, race, creed, sexual orientation, to experience art in a comfortable and welcoming environment. If we've learned anything from the past 6 months, is that art is needed now more than ever to get us through these times of protest and crisis. So thank you for watching and tuning in. We also want to give a big thank you to Gus. And then also to those that helped make this exhibition possible. Yeah. Meggan, of course, Photographic Center Northwest, the Seattle Wholesale Flower Market, Pacific Science Center, our neighbors Daniel Carrillo and the team at Gallery Frames, John Pruitt for the access to the amazing animals that have been found in Meggan's work, which we're going to talk more about. Sarah Sherb for her wonderful essay that's found in the exhibition catalog, and Kathleen Gooding for putting together this fantastic 360 virtual walkthrough of the exhibition that can also be found on the gallery website. So without further ado, hello, I'm Judith Rinehart.
I'm Meggan Joy.
And we are excited to give you this walkthrough of the exhibition Battle Cry. By way of introduction to the work, to Meggan's work and her process, we want to play a short studio visit video to give you guys all some background information. So take it away.
And Instagram is not getting that video because we don't know how to do that, but we love you very much, and you guys get to look at the installation.
Meggan Joy is a self-taught photographic artist with a very unique studio practice. The work requires her to delve into the sciences of botany, horticulture, and organic gardening, in addition to cultivating an education in art history and poetry. Working out of her community garden plot, Joy conceptualizes her imagery from the ground up, growing flowers, fruits, and other vegetation from seed to use as her subject matter. She documents the growth, beauty, and decay of the various flora with her camera, along with the insects, spiders, and other creatures that live in symbiosis with the environment. Thousands of individual photographs are digitally composited, resulting in the final image that is bursting with life and layered with hidden details and anecdotes. Natural sciences are combined with historical narratives and allegories, often weaving in symbols and motifs from art history to create a new and surreal vision. From photographs capturing once living individual things, subtle movements of hands, regal poses of aristocracy, and portraits of ethereal beings begin to emerge. All right, thank you for that. Thank you guys for watching that. I really love seeing your garden and where you actually work out of.
Yeah, it's a beautiful practice sometimes. Sometimes it's really dirty.
Well, talk to us a little bit about specifically this body of work and kind of the original inspiration for it.
Original inspiration was really simple. I was watching the Christy Beasley Ford hearings and just kind of thought, oh, I'd love to make some warriors that kind of depict this spirit of women and just being strong but also being beautiful. And that idea just kind of stuck with me. And then it evolved and changed, and we depict warriors in art history in a really typical way, and I wanted to do it in my way, and also not do it in a, I wanted to be a woman making work about women.
Absolutely, and
yeah.
you do it so well.
Thank
and
you.
we're gonna eventually talk about some of the specific ladies and the flowers that they come from. But one thing that struck me when you talk about your work is that it's this the show is called Battle Cry because it's about women in this state of conflict who are either their bodies are in conflict or they're in some kind of conflict that they're pushing against. And we have a lot of that right now.
There's a bit.
There's a little bit.
There's a little bit of a revolution.
A little bit of a conflict happening. And then, as you as a woman who is amongst this, how has that changed how you view your work?
The work just in the last week has changed immensely to me. It has become so much more personal to me. And then also recognizing, for instance, when I was referencing the posing was only looking at Western art, and I did not even realize that I was doing that until this week. And so I had to change my relationship to what I consider art and adjust that and just humbly acknowledge that I kind of messed up, but also didn't, because I can acknowledge it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
acknowledging that we are not native to this land, and that is an accurate statement, and recognizing those things in ourselves are important.
Yeah.
And with that, you went down to the Capitol Hill occupancy protest today.
I did.
And talk to us a little bit about that experience.
I went and visited the Spontaneous Community Garden. My garden is a planned community garden in Inner Bay, and this was spontaneously made, I believe, 3 days ago by Marcus Henderson, who just showed up with a shovel and started making a community garden. And it's for everything that this show is, which is warriors with plants. He's doing the literal version of that. And it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I got really teary-eyed seeing it. And cannot offer my support to him more. Really super cool guy. We dropped off some supplies, and that is the literal version of what I want this show to be. I just made the arty farty version, and he made the real world version.
That's fantastic. So. And we'll put a link in the chat to where you can help the Black Lives Matter movement, help the Capitol Hill
it goes
occupancy.
Directly to him, who is literally planting in the ground today, right now. So. And I met him today. He's incredible. So
that's fantastic.
Please do it if you have any little bit of change today. That'd be great.
Wonderful. So with that, let's take a stroll around the exhibition and take a little closer look at some of the ladies. Oh, and you will notice there is this amazing flower installation that Meggan created site-specific for this show of mostly dried flowers. A good percentage of it was grown in her garden in Inner Bay. Others we worked with the Seattle Wholesale Market to acquire and dry. This installation will be up through the course of the exhibition, and I'll mention this later, but I might as well mention it now. You can make an appointment to come and see the show in person. Just shoot me an email at judith@jrinehartgallery.com.
I would highly recommend it. It smells very good in here.
It smells amazing in here.
It smells so good. And not to toot my own horn, but it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Well, let's go take a look at some of our favorite pieces from the show.
Yeah.
Thanks, cameraman.
Thank you to the husbands for...
Right?
Yeah, thank you, husbands. Super handsome husbands.
Oh, cuss. All right. So these two images, the first ones I saw of the show, and I love them. Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about both of these figures. I'm going to start with this one because I love her. This one's called Armistice. And there's these wonderful, in addition to all of the flowers, there's fruits, there's little bugs, there's this wonderful ship and this kind of wonderful prop that you had created. Can you tell us a little more about that?
About the props, they're all recycled materials that I repurpose and remake or make from scratch. The rainbow is borrowed from a portrait of Queen Elizabeth I, I believe. She used a rainbow, it's called the Rainbow Portrait, and I just love that imagery. And I wanted to depict a ship which could depict safety, and then a storm on the other hand that could depict the other side of it. But also, if you look at it, a rainbow is at the end of the storm, and then also the ship is also quite vicious looking. It is definitely a warship. So depending on how you're looking at it, it could be one way or the other, maybe depending on how you're feeling that day. This is one of my favorite pieces because one of my favorite bugs ever is in it. Yeah, I just wanted that duality of kind of living in between, and she's very regal. I think she kind of she sits somewhere above it, maybe. Yeah.
Well, I feel like with a lot of the figures that you're depicting, they do have this very regal, like very queenly portrait.
Yeah.
That harkens back to a lot of Dutch and Renaissance and kind of medieval paintings of regal.
A lot of them, the poses are very performative. They're very much meant to be viewed in a certain way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're posed to be read in a certain way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah. There's so much symbolism through our art history that you're pulling from in your work. Not just the symbolism of the flowers, the different props, the bugs, everything that you're using. It's also inherently through the annals of art history, these poses that are very meaningful and recognizable. And we'll talk about this later too. You have a whole series of hand gestures that the hand gestures throughout our history, throughout time, and throughout place, and throughout different cultures have that. So we'll get into that later when we look at those. But for this lady, talk to us about this beautiful hawk.
Yeah, the falcon. So my friend John is his job is basically bringing in animals for people to learn about them and engage with them, and he teaches in classrooms and rehabs animals and stuff, does all of that amazing stuff. And so we had a really fun day together and photographed all of his lovely beings. One of them is Wednesday the owl, who is my best friend. Fortunately, I don't remember her name. I do remember that it's a her, but we had a lot of fun feeding her and photographing her, and I just felt like I wanted to depict that like hunger of being ambitious, I guess. And so like the belly of a falcon, belly of a hawk, and like that feeling you get when you really, really know that you want to do something. And then I love the idea of delivering love notes with arrows. So fun fact, these love notes are literally me just writing bits of things that my husband wrote to me when he was in Ranger School many moons ago. So you can't read them, they're all for me, but
they're here.
But there is actual text in there of the different things that my husband said to me back in those days when we were just dating, actually. So
that's beautiful.
A long time ago.
Well, and as we saw in the studio visit video that we watched, all of these props, all of these flowers, all the bugs, even our little falcon was photographed by you first before being collaged together.
Yeah.
So the hours you're spending on these are just amazing.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot, yeah. That's why I also like to call them ghosts, because they're made of once living things. Like they were real living things that don't exist anymore. And so they're my interpretation of ghosts.
Oh, I love that too. There's kind of this idea of this powerful warrior ghost lady of flowers.
Yeah. She'd be like your little like guardian spirit if you need it.
Oh, I love that.
What I mean?
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at one of.
I'm gonna buy one.
I know. I just don't know which one. The one of my favorite pieces of the show that I feel is probably the most powerful in the terms of battle cry is the next piece we're going to look at. And I want you to tell us a little bit of a story about that. So let's move on over to Lucretia. This way.
Right in the way. Focus.
So this is Lucretia. And tell us a little bit about who Lucretia is.
Lucretia is a art history subject. Usually the Dutch masters, I think, is kind of when she started going out of favor. But she may or may not have existed, but she was basically a Roman noblewoman. And she was raped, and knowing that nobody would believe her, she was being blackmailed, she went to her father and ended up stabbing herself to prove that it was real and that this happened. It ended up actually causing a revolution, just a casual one. And when I talked about Christy Paisley Ford being the kind of inspiration of the show is because when I was watching her and I saw that kind of infamous photo of her doing the I pledge, pledging in, I don't know what the term is, but I just kept on thinking, wow, she's the modern Lucretia. And that was the idea. And I had wanted to do a Lucretia for a long time, but I felt really scared to do it because I knew I wanted to do it right. And so I spent a long time working on her, and I wanted to do her maybe a different narrative of fighting back, but also being really soft and meadowy. So she's made out of things that you would find in a meadow, including lavender that's from your garden. But the bluebells are from outside of my childhood home, just outside of my bedroom window, actually. And then strawberries are from my garden, and then made the sword. And you know, like, she could be interpreted in a lot of different ways. I just didn't want her to be a person that was just being voyeuristically stared upon for the sake of, because she was a motif.
Right.
I wanted her to be something that was more powerful than that.
And I think she embodies kind of the struggle of being a woman, the struggle of being a woman in this modern world, and the things that we still have to fight back against in some ways. She's
literally tied to her sword. She is bound to her power. She is strong. There's no separating her. So is she very, very different than a Rembrandt's Lucretia? Yes. Very, very much so. But that was my intention.
I mean, there's nothing weak or victimizing about her. She is.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to mess with her.
She seems, she has so much strength just in her pose and in her movements. And yes, she's in this conflict, but she's overcoming it.
She's going to regain her ground.
Yeah.
I think Sarah in the essay said that, she's lion prone, but that's where flowers are the strongest.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
I also love, you have these little mushrooms in here. There's these bees that you were able to photograph.
Those are from our hive.
And there's tiny little mouse.
Tiny mouse. Well, we both have a love of mice.
Yes, we both do. So there's all of these things that help support her that I find incredible about this piece.
What's interesting too is a lot like these walking oats are some of the same walking oats that are in the installation. So, because those can dry. So there's a lot of, I don't ever waste anything, basically. I want it to live on as far as it can. So yeah.
Yeah, she's phenomenal.
Thank you. I worked really hard on her.
Yeah.
So, and if you're just happening to walk by, you will see it outside.
Yeah, so our windows got broken a couple weeks ago because of things.
Because it's just some
small price to pay. Yeah. It's fine. But Meggan was wonderful to put a big mural up on the plywood windows until we can get them repaired of Lucretia, and she just looks phenomenal in the
she looks great,
ginormous size.
Yeah.
She's so great. Yeah. So she's going to be our warrior princess for the duration of this show.
Warrior princess. Ooh, I love it. Love it.
Well, let's go take a look at some more work.
Yeah. Gus is so worried about you, John. He's like, why is he so quiet now?
So there are two pieces in the show that depict two figures. Yeah. And you've really woven them together. And this one matches your dress perfectly. But I was very struck with this one because it's like all my favorite colors. But then what's going on here? There's these two figures. Most of your figures feel very feminine to me. Mm-hmm. These ones are a little bit more androgynous.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
I, recognizing my privilege after my last solo show, realized that I was only depicting women that looked like me. Mm. And I wanted to immediately rectify this. This was actually the first piece that I finished for the show, because that's wrong, and I should depict more women. So I decided to, I was so scared, y'all, but I made my first trans women in my own way. This piece is called The Victory Dance, and I wanted to depict an ally with her that is also maybe protecting her and getting in between the viewer and her, just to, like we should, keeping people safe. Did not know that on the day that the show was going to be opening that would be so important to mention, that trans women are women. Yes. So I was really, this is the piece I was the most scared to make because it was one of the ones that I wanted to get right, and I spent the most time on her, and she was the first one that I wanted to do just to make sure that I did that, because there's not a whole lot of way for me to show diversity with flower people, but in the ways that I can, I need to do that. So this was me trying to do better. So
I love it. I think they're so beautiful, and I feel like this one uses so much more fruits and vegetables than you have before. Was that a conscious decision, or did that just come out of what was happening at the time?
How graphic do you want me to get? Because I can. Do you want to talk about botany?
Yes, talk a little bit about botany.
So I made the penis out of the zucchini, which is the female part of the plant. So there you go. But that was like, I mean, I had to grow zucchini specifically for that.
Right.
So like, because I don't like zucchini. That's not my favorite plant. But I mean, like, I made that decision to do. So yeah, I mean, like, and there's a lot of fruiting, mature. I guess would be the word. And you know, there's kind of like a fall theme to it that I wasn't intending, but when I saw it printed, I felt that. So like maybe harvest. And it's very celebratory. That's why there's music, there's dancing. It's
this ribbon that just kind of ties them together and connects them is beautiful.
It's a victory. It's meant to be joyous. It's meant to be, and this isn't only for trans women.
Right.
Yeah, it's for us all. Like, it's that moment of accomplishing something great. Yeah. Like having a great solo show.
Done. Yeah.
So, but yeah, my favorite part of this piece is actually this little Cosmo, because when I was collaging it in, I realized that there was a little spider on it, and I didn't even realize that when I photographed it, there was a spider on it.
So there's spiders.
Super teeny tiny in there. But
so when you come to make your appointment to see the exhibition, we do have magnifying glasses. We do invite you to come in. Please wear a face mask, but like get a little close with the magnifying glass to pick out some of these really just sweet details that are found in these pieces.
I worked really hard to put them in there, so please try and find them. There's a caterpillar in there. I dare you to try and find it.
Really?
Yep. I know where it is.
You know where it is. I know we've got another little bird.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so great. I feel like you've brought, not only with the installation but with the work, you've really kind of brought these floral explosions into the gallery and into your space.
This is how I live. This is my life. This is like what my kitchen looks like. It's like I mean, once you start living this way with this much life, it's really hard when like the apartment's empty. Like when we took all the supplies out of the apartment, I was like, For like 5 minutes, I felt great, and then immediately I was like, we need to get more house plants.
More flowers.
So, but yeah.
But yeah, I invite you to call, send me an email, come and make an appointment to come see this in person. It's really a phenomenal show.
That's the one thing that's unfortunate about all of this, is that these are really meant to be a person. There's no way to really get the full.
Yeah.
Because even I make them and I'll often forget about stuff that's in there. So
until they're printed on the large scale, and here they are.
Oh yeah. Did you find the caterpillar yet?
No.
Do you want me to point it out?
Yes.
Right here.
Oh. That's so cute. He's very tiny.
He's life size.
Yeah. Oh.
No, there's a banana slug. There are little spiders everywhere. I think we pointed out the bird,
Yeah. Well, in your color palette, you had mentioned this one's very autumny, and a lot of your work tends to have their very own specific color palettes.
Yeah.
And is that based on the plants that you grow? Is that based on a time period in which they bloom, or is there a purpose behind that, or is it just what you have photographed at the time?
Yeah. I mean, usually I will start by sketching out the shapes that I want to do. And then if I have specific plants, then that will kind of decide, if there's for instance, a zucchini told a story that I wanted to use. So it was very specific. And in that case, the bloom was yellow. So I knew I wanted to do that. But on other pieces, it's just, what are the type of stories that I want to tell with the flowers? And then that will kind of go from there. But sometimes I literally would just be I really want, for instance, Lucretia. We talked about Lucretia. Saw a TV show, and in the background was a field of bluebells and fresh green leaves, and I was I want that color palette. Yeah. So I took a screenshot of it, and that's what decided to be her, and that's what made it be a meadow. Was thinking of that and that kind of vibe. So I just went into my catalog of images, which is many terabytes.
Pretty massive.
Yeah. And decided to pull everything green and blue and kind of go from there. So
wonderful.
Yeah. So it's kind of organic, I guess.
Yeah.
There isn't,
Believe it organic,
not, totally off brand.
Yeah. Well, let's go have a seat and chat a little bit more.
Yeah.
I gotta go grab my notes.
Come here, Gus. Come here, buddy. Good boy. You're being so good.
Gus.
He's being so good.
Cheers.
Oh, cheers. I guess I should actually drink after that.
Yeah.
Huh?
So I had mentioned briefly about you also create, in addition to these figures, these wonderful hand gesture pieces, and we have 2 of them up here. And I find them incredibly fascinating, and so I'd done a little bit of research on these different hand gestures, and we had talked about this before, is that you are pulling hand gestures from a wide variety of art historical images from all different genres, all different cultures, and this is an excerpt from the catalog.
The beautiful catalog.
The beautiful catalog.
That you can purchase.
Yeah.
If you so feel like it.
So the human hand is has rich symbolic nature, used throughout the visual histories of every known society. The iconography of the hand has come to represent a person as a whole. Intrinsically expressive, the ever-coded visual language of subtle hand gestures can convey abstract concept, entire ideas, or communicate a deeper hidden meaning. Triumph, fidelity, creativity, hope, justice, and sacrifice can all be communicated through the familiar shape of our hands. Balancing subtle movements of fingers, palm, and thumb with flora, fauna, and vegetation which bursts with life, the final unassuming images speaks volumes. And I think that's incredibly true, that the human hands are found, in everything. And they're very symbolic, from Buddhism to Catholicism. It can be found in art from all over the world. And I found, just in our discussions, you talk about so much of the figures are pulled from very European art, where your hand gestures start there, but then have opened up to a kind of a...
Yeah, they can be anybody,
they
really.
They can be anybody.
I think For me, if I go more than 2 days without making something, I'm so uncomfortable. So like for me, my hands are very, very important. So when I see these pieces and I love these pieces, they're a lot harder than the full figures in a lot of ways. They certainly take longer for whatever reason. Can't really explain that, but maybe it's just because they feel more precious.
Yeah.
Because they're smaller and they're more, way more intimate.
They're way more intimate.
Yeah. I think it's because like if you're seeing somebody's hands that close, like look at how close you have to be, right? For them to be that close to you. So, I think about those poses a lot. Trying to be, this one's called Triumphant, and she's waving the flag. She's really happy she won, but it's also a pose of defense.
Yeah.
Which again,
very salient to today.
This one's called Slow Burn, and yes, I did set off the fire alarm in my apartment making this one. But the moment of moving on is a moment of victory. So if you're burning your love letters, then you've moved on.
You've moved on.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
well, you can see more of the hand gestures, these two, and more in the catalog. So this was produced by the gallery. You can go, you can purchase it online at the gallery website. It's got a wonderful essay by Sarah Sherb that goes a really deep dive into the work, and then
amazing.
Just beautiful representations of, and little bugs.
You can see my bugs.
Yeah, of all the
Baba
work
Yaga.
that's in the show. So we'll leave those there. If you do make an appointment, you can also take home some seeds. So you put together these seed packets, and tell us what's in them.
There is all of my favorite annuals. So there is some, basically a meadow of sunflowers in kind of like orangey burgundy colors, and then a bunch of cut and come again zinnias, and then poppies. And if you want to live in my brain, you can have some seeds and grow a bit of my brain. Because that's pretty much what it is.
And all of the flowers in these seeds, you can tell me if I'm wrong, are very bee friendly.
Yeah, pollinator friendly, and I made the paper, and all of the ribbon is recycled ribbon because I care about such things.
Yes, you do.
So,
well, thank you.
Thank you. Can I just say you're the best?
Oh, thank you. You're
I love
amazing.
you so much.
We're so thrilled with this show, this exhibition. It's really fantastic. And if there are any questions in the chat.
Oh my God, I'm so scared for this. Oh my God.
Anything from Instagram?
No questions?
Some requests to zoom in on the work.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm trying to.
Okay.
That's a fair question.
Fair question.
There was one up a little earlier about are the props for sale?
Are they? We do have some of the props for the exhibition. If you want to take a look at the bell jar over there.
Yeah.
But we haven't talked about selling them.
If somebody wants to do that, I guess I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just let us know.
Yeah, we are donating a portion of the proceeds.
Oh yes,
to Photo Center Northwest. So that's my initial gut is no, you can't have my props. But since we are doing that, and Photo Center Northwest is so vitally important to our community, then absolutely, I will sell you everything but Gus, my husband, to do that. So yeah. So I guess they're for sale. Make a price.
Yeah.
It better be a good price though, because I love those things.
Question of, do you have a favorite flower and or plant?
Why does
Better answer it.
Why does
Ooh.
everybody ask me this? It changes a lot. Oh my God, right now I really like straw flowers because they do not change when they dry, and they were a major part of this installation. But I also really love Love Lies Bleeding Amaranth, which is another thing that's in the installation. I think it tells a lot of story. It looks like big pink dreadlocks, and it is just, it's not a typical flower, and you can use it in a lot of different ways, and like I've used it to depict like a wound before, and yeah, and it's just a weird flower. Anything weird is like a favorite of mine. If it's bizarre, then I'm a fan. So.
Somebody would like a close-up of the print on the dress.
Oh, it is from Rent the Runway. I had another dress to wear, and I tried sewing it to make it fit me better, and I don't know how to sew, so that was a mistake. So last minute, Rent the Runway.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. It feels like if outside is going to have a 60s flavor, then like I can have a 60s flavor.
Absolutely.
Inside. So.
Somebody asked me a question about the figures that have feet and those that don't.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and this might be a good time to talk about these two ladies. They don't have feet. So.
Sometimes they just don't need feet. Like I don't, like sometimes they don't need it. Like sometimes it's distracting. Feet are hard to make in flowers. They're probably the hardest thing. So sometimes it's distracting and it doesn't work. So these two are, they pair well with the victory dance, and it's called Weep and Wail, and they're banshees. And banshees historically, I don't know, mythology-y, will scream and warn pre-death. And I just wanted to depict that, basically. So I kind of made them based off of my two friends, Lily and Maya. So I picked a lot of their favorite flowers for each one.
Nice.
Because mourning with somebody is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we will end there. Thank you so much, Meggan. And
thank you so much.
This was really fantastic. I think we lost our camera.
Did we?
Well, that's okay.
One
One more question.
Oh.
For IG, make it a simple answer. It's a very complicated one. But how do you organize, keep track of, and store all of your photography? Barely.
I use Lightroom cataloging, and I organize them by what they are, and then also tag them by what color they are. So I can, if I know I need yellow things, I can click yellow. And then if I need like a bug, I have a bug section, basically. Yeah, like it's pretty organized. I don't know. It should be more organized, truly, but it works for me. I can usually remember when I photograph something by rough date. So more often than not, I'll be like, where was I in June when I photographed that ladybug? And then I can find it from there. So yeah.
Well, thank you all. Please check out the website, jrinehartgallery.com. There's a link to all the works in the show. There's a link to the catalog. And then, yes, please email me to make an appointment. We'll be here starting next week for sure, Tuesday through Saturdays, 11 to 5. And hopefully by July, we'll be able to open up for more hours. So come see us by chance or by appointment. And have a great evening. Thank you.
Bye, Instagram.
Bye.